Hello and welcome to PlayStation Racer. My name is Mitchell Morgan and I've got something a little bit different for you today. On my live stream last night, it was voted by a good number of people that I should enter my very first Nations Cup. Now most people will have done a whole load of practice before they actually enter a race, but I'm pretty time strapped at the moment, so I decided to fulfill my obligations to do today's Nations Cup race, but with very limited practice. I'd literally practiced in this car for about 10 minutes before we then went into a 5-minute qualifier and then the race. Let's see how we get on in this one, where I'll tell you now, the nerves do get the better of me. So we're at Suzuka. We are in the Toyota Supra and we're on racing hard tyres. We've got 10 laps to do, but before we do anything we need to run a 5-minute qualifier, and the 5-minute qualifier is all important in this race because that is going to define where you start on the grid. Now we need to do the qualifier for each race, so there's no point in just grinding out your best time. So we're back to the type of qualifier that I like, where you need to qualify for each race and therefore you are as good as you are on the day. You can't have sat there grinding away for a day or 2 days to get your best possible time that you're never ever going to match again. So in this Nations Cup the pressure really is on from the very outset. So this is my out lap. I'm just taking it a little bit easy. I'm trying to find myself some space. So I've let the 6 cars that are ahead of me just go away just a little bit, but also I'm minded of the green car behind me, and I don't want him to get too close and then put pressure on me during my hot lap, but at the same time I don't really want to get too close to the cars in front and then get caught up with any battles, although a slipstream on this one at the right time could be very useful. You'll also notice that the qualifier for this is only 5 minutes, so we're only really going to get an out lap and then maybe 1, possibly 2 flying laps. I think we're only really going to get 1 flying lap, so I really want to do my best to make sure that we nail it on this lap, and that's another reason why I'm trying to find myself a little bit of space in front of the car and behind, so that I don't put too much pressure on myself. I could of course drive up behind the car in front, assuming I could catch him, and then use him as a slipstream all the way around the track, but my thinking here was if I was to do that I could get caught out, the slipstream could catch me out, he could go off and I could follow him off, which I'm very good at doing, and already I've just gone a little bit wide there, and this is only on the out lap. So I was minded that I wanted to try and just get into some clean air, and that's what that out lap was all about. So now hopefully with the tyres warmed up we're going to line up and go for it, so we're really starting to work up through the gears now, already thinking about the first corner. I'm going to attack this in 3rd gear, and I'm looking for the little grey area on the left hand side just after or just before the 50-metre board. Hard on the brakes, careful when we're turning, and just keep this turning, keep it turning. Then we get on the power and then up through the gears as we head into the S's. I'm going to go through the S's in 3rd, just trying to lift off and just feather the accelerator through the S's to carry as much speed as I can through. Now I remind you that I've only done about 5 minutes of practice before this qualifier, so I really am learning this car and the track as we go. This is not ideal for a big race like the Nations Cup, but as I said, time is against me, so needs must. I wanted to get this done, I wanted to get this video out there, so we just went for it. So as we come down into this corner, I'm going to run the curb and I'm going to look for the end of the curb, bury the brake pedal all the way down into 1st gear for a bit of rotation. 2nd, as we approach the apex, I've gone a little bit deep into that one. That will have cost me just a little bit. 2nd gear as you exit the corner, just getting on the power, and then we're just going to continue up through the gears, just accelerating as we approach Spoon Curve. Looking for the little grey patch on the right hand side again, just before the 50-metre board, and then the Astro turning in, down into third, down into second as we get into the top of Spoon, on the power as soon as we can, and just trying to get as much speed as we can down this long straight as we go into the fast left-hander. Again, wasn't quite sure where to brake or even to go through here flat. I've been trying to get through here flat, but really struggling, so lifting a little bit there, and the Supra wasn't great across the curbs, so I was trying to be a little bit careful with the curbs. There were occasions where I did actually try using more of the curb in the race, and that was the undoing, and you're going to see that when we get into the race. And yes, I am narrating this one after the fact. I did not want to record and narrate this one live. I was really concentrating. So as we cross the line, we've got 11 seconds before the actual qualifying period finishes. We've got a car right close up behind us at the moment, but he's backed out. I think he's realised that we're not going to get around for another lap. And what have we got? 2:18. So there is a possibility that we could actually get this lap done. So at this point I was pushing it, and I also thought that the car behind had backed out, but no, he's still running as well. So I'm going for it in this one, but also I am minded that we've got a car that's chasing me down, and we are only in 10th position at the moment, which is not particularly good. So with a decent lap in the bag, well, I say a decent lap, with an incident-free or relatively incident-free initial lap, I did decide to push it on this one and just see if we could get that lap time down. Unfortunately, there isn't a delta marker on the screen with the little, blue or red up and down. The car behind's just binned it hard into the barrier, so that's taken the pressure off a little bit, but we still find ourselves in 10th place at the moment. I'm only 0.013 away from 9th place, so it would be quite nice if we could improve on that qualifier time and just see if we can move up the grid just a little bit. So feeling the balance of the car a little bit now, feeling a little bit more confident in the car, so we are starting to push, starting to use more of the track, starting to think a little bit more about the corners. Going into this one, braking on the, I didn't actually brake on that, tiny little bit of brake, but barely any, but more of a lift off at the 50-metre board. Braking really hard on the 100, using loads of curb through here, and then a run to the line. I'm going to stay over to the right hand side just to see if we can get to the line as soon as possible, and just see if we can move up just a small amount. And there we go, we did actually move up. We moved up into 6th position and 0.96 seconds behind the leader there, so quite pleased with that, to be within a second. And bearing in mind that we haven't done any real practice, I was actually really pleased to have landed 6th place in this particular race. I was quite nervous during the qualifier, put a lot of pressure on myself, and then as we headed into the race, that pressure built even more. So I'm just double checking to make sure that I've got my brake balance set. You could see all of the other racers and those that have run races before. So quite a few people haven't set any points yet, but then again, a few have. One of those are up in the hundreds. We've got one in the 80s. So we've got some fairly good racers in this particular race. And well, we'll just see what we can get. As you can see, this is the very first Nations race that I have ever done. So I don't have any points at all on the board at the moment. So we're just counting down at the moment, 10 seconds until we get into the race. This little cool down period, as I refer to it, just the pause before the race starts, is really useful. At this point I was really trying to settle my nerves, and then we go into this rather nice little cameo video. I'm assuming it's picking up the UK because I'm a UK driver. So we've got the globe map with all of the flags around. We've got the course car sitting there waiting to take us off. Then we get a little bit of a cameo. I quite like it with the flags flying over the over the video. We then get the trophy. That's a beautiful Gran Turismo trophy. I guess that's what we are all racing for. And then we're into the World Series Nations Cup, final. This is the 23-24 Exhibition Series, Series 3, Round 1. Very, very fast one that I've ever done. So again, I wasn't sure whether we were going to have a rolling start or a grid start, whether there was a false start penalty. This was all very, very new to me. I hadn't even watched any of the Nations Cup videos that other streamers had done to see what was to be expected. So just as we run through the cars here, and I love the way that car had his wheel angled. There's my car. Unfortunately, the number stickers are stuck over the livery, which is a bit of a shame. But I'm not going to change the livery just for this race. That livery is for the Crohn's and Colitis charity event I'm going to be doing on the 12th of March 2024. And I've got that on a few of my cars now and just running that in the lead up to that charity event. It's going to be a 27-hour live stream, which is going to be something else. So we've got 16 runners as we just reach the Veyron at the end. We then cut back, and again, I'm looking for the lights. There aren't any. We just got a 3, 2, 1 countdown and away, and literally just bury the accelerator. And we actually got quite a reasonable start. The 4 cars up front bunched up a little bit, but we do get into a bit of an incident going down into the first corner. I outbraked myself and just ran into the back of the car in front, and the car behind me ran into the back of me. So we've got a bit of a concertina effect. And this is the onboard with me, so you'll be able to see that a little bit better. We're back with the Honda that hits me, but this is all about the concertina effect. So I broke hard, but not hard enough, came off the brakes, then back on, caught the Supra in front. The Honda behind me then hits, then he gets clobbered from behind, roughed up big time, and that all started from me just catching the back of the slower car up front. So cold tyres, first corner incident. At that point the nerves were really settling in. It was like, oh, we've already had an incident. Am I going to be able to keep this together for 10 laps? And I can assure you at this stage already my legs were shaking, my arms were shaking, the nerves were kicking in massively. I was recording this, although I wasn't actually narrating or anything. I'm doing that after the fact, as I said. But I knew that I was recording this. I knew that I was going to put this out as my first ever Nations race, regardless of what happened. And I desperately wanted to try and have a decent race. And being in 5th place, I thought, wow, is there an opportunity to keep this 5th place? Can we keep it top 6? Could we even dare to consider a podium? Well, I wasn't even thinking about a podium at this time. It was really just trying to keep it all in order. I'm following the car in front, not racing the track. I'm racing the car in front. So he went wide, took me wide, which was a bit of a shame. And that was another wake-up call to remind me to watch for my braking zones, my turning points, and to drive the track, not the car in front. So on the first lap, we've run into the car in front. We've gone a little bit wide, so 2 small issues. We got the car behind, I think that's a Ferrari, chasing us down as well. Going 3rd gear into this corner. Oh, that car goes a little bit wide. I was a little bit taken by that car going wide, and that upset my little line. That also then let the Ferrari through. So again, being a little bit careful and cautious. So the car in front goes wide here. I had my eye on that car. Where was he going to join? I then cut across a little bit late, but the Ferrari had already got up the inside, and that was one of my weak parts of the track, where people were coming up the inside. You can see that I've got damage on the rear, where somebody actually hit me pretty hard in the rear, but that damage is now cleared up, thankfully. But that did enable the Ferrari to get away, and I did find at this very early stages of this race that it was very much elbows out. It wasn't as clean as I thought it was going to be. When I've looked back at the replay, I've realised why. And basically I was leaving the door open a little bit too much at times. So for instance, going into some of the corners, I was taking my racing line, people were putting their car into that theoretical vortex of death or vortex of doom, however you want to pronounce it, and that was causing me some problems. That one I felt was a little bit unfair. The car in front that's just gone through there, he's got a half-second penalty, did give me a nice old thump through here. So this is just looking at the replay of this one. So he's quite nicely in line here, but I think that this is my corner. We get up to the turn there and I'm sweeping across. He didn't even make the corner either, so I really do think that that was a push to pass. I gave him a little bit of a nudge to say, oi, come on, that's not really very fair, give me the place back. He didn't, he carried on, which was a bit of a pain. We did make up another place to get up to 5th, where that other Supra was off the track there, and that was a bit of a given, which I was quite pleased about, and that put us back into 5th. But we've already had 2 people slide up the inside, one of which I think was a fair move. I'd left the door open. We then had the one into Spoon that I was not too happy about. I felt that that was a definite push to pass. The car didn't manage to keep it on the track, and I think that he should have given the place back, but no, he's now a couple of seconds down the road. Now at this point, I'm okay up front. I've got about a 2 to 3 second gap to the car out front from memory, but this Jaguar was really catching and really pushing. So I settled down. Again, heart was pounding, shaking like crazy. Why I let the nerves get to me, I really don't know. One of the things I've got to do is to learn when I go into these big races to calm my nerves and just race. So at this point, full of nerves, adrenaline going crazy, and seeing all of these gaggle of cars, these little groups of cars that were behind me now with the space in front, it was, can I keep these cars behind? And I was watching the timings. It's a shame that the timings aren't on the screen, but that Jaguar was just taking a 10th out of here and a 10th out there. Then I might get a 10th or 2 back in certain places, but on the whole, he was just coming at me just a couple of tenths a lap, which was a real shame. We got some timings on there now, and you can see how he's closing up 0.6 now to the car behind and 0.27 to the car in front. So yeah, you can see how this is like ebbing and flowing. He slows up the Jaguar really big time on me into this corner. I was very cautious about spinning it and trying to get down onto the power quickly, but we got a good exit, which has enabled us just to pull away ever so slightly. But again, he then gets the power down, and that Jaguar is now closing all the way down. The Jaguar does seem to have the grunt down the straight, but I was able just to pull a little bit away through the corners. So 0.4, 0.5, you can see here that I'm just getting a little bit of distance to the Jaguar, and that was this concertina effect that went on for quite some time, where the Jaguar would close up on the faster parts, and then I would just manage to pull away ever so slightly on the twisty parts. But overall, that Jaguar was closing me down all the way through the race. So at this point, we're on lap number 4, about halfway, not quite halfway round, but midway round lap number 4. The leader at the moment, Ryoki, I don't know if that's how you say that, and then Ali Loves to Drink in second, and Tony VR7 in third, with that Eningles, I don't know how you pronounce that, but R2D2, that's the easiest way to pronounce that one, in fourth ahead. Again, now 3.7 seconds ahead. So to be fair, he did that lunge into Spoon, he got that move made even though we were both off the track, and now he is actually pulling away. So he was quicker than me. I obviously was slowing him up. He probably I think he could have made the move a lot cleaner, so it did still grate on me that that move had been done in that fashion. But I wasn't too worried because I knew that if he'd waited, he'd been able to get me down into this fast left-hander or down the start-finish straight very, very easily. He was the quicker racer, and yeah, like I've said, and I won't harp on it anymore, he didn't need to do that move. He had plenty of opportunity to sit behind me for a few laps, see where I was quick and where I was slow, and then he would easily have been able to take his opportunity, as several did, going into this first corner. So we're now into lap number 5. Things have settled down a little bit. We've got some space out the front. We've got a second to the car behind, so still one eye very much in the rear view mirror of the Jaguar. Closing up just a little bit on our 2D2 at the moment through here, so we've got that gap back down to 2.6, 2.5 now, just dropping down into the low 2.5s. But unfortunately, we were never actually really able to get onto terms, and you'll see in a few moments that we end up going defensive on the Jaguar. At this point, about halfway, well, not even halfway, but midway around lap number 5, just taking stock of the fuel situation. Fuel is absolutely fine for the whole of this race. It is a sprint race, no need to pit at all. Our tyres are looking absolutely fine, no worries at all there. So we're just basically continuing to push on. I've gone a little bit deep into that corner, which enabled the Jaguar behind to close up. And you can see the cars behind are pretty well strung out now. So whereas they were quite closed up, and I was concerned that if one of the cars got by from me making a mistake, that I might have 2 or 3 coming through. At this stage it was like, okay, we've just got this Jaguar to worry about at the moment, and we've also got R2D2 that we are chasing down as well. So we're just on what I refer to as the fan view, just enjoying these cars running, and you can see how the Jaguar is just hunting me down. It's got the slipstream at this point, but I'm pushing as hard as I can, trying to use as much of the track. You can see that the Supra is not overly balanced on the curbs here. So as we come through the chicane, we're going to come across the start finish line to start lap number 6, and yeah, boy, at this point I was sweating buckets. I was as nervous as anything. We're now 6 laps in, the tyres and everything are looking fine, the fuel's fine, as I said. Now it's just a case of, can we keep that Jaguar behind us? You can see how close he is now, closing up all the time. A couple of cars behind also having a bit of a battle together. And here I'm just trying to make sure that we just watch every apex, try and get on the power as soon as we can, but without spinning it, but also pushing and pushing and pushing. And I was at this point actually pushing it a little bit too hard, and I just got a little bit out of my comfort zone, took a bit too much of the curb there, put it around on the grass. We almost collected the Jaguar. I'm so pleased that we didn't. I managed to have a quick look to see where we could rejoin. I spun that round on the gravel, managed to rejoin by only losing a few places, but you could see there that was all my own fault. Too much curb, round we went, and 3 places lost. Absolutely gutted to find myself back down in 9th now. Dirty tyres, confidence now completely shot. I'd started to get some confidence in the car. I'd started to get some confidence in my ability. I'd started to dare to think that we could do this race without any more incidents and bring it home for quite a nice result. And unfortunately, just one very small mistake, just getting it too far up on the curb. It completely unset the car, put it around, then got onto the grass. But I was very glad that I didn't hit the Jaguar and I didn't spoil that racer's race, because if we had have collected, it would have completely killed his race too. And then to be able to spin it round on the gravel and then do the rejoin without interfering with anybody else was a positive for me. I was really pleased that my incident didn't cause anybody else to have any incidents themselves. So now on lap 7, just as we come across the line to start a new lap, we find ourselves in a lot of open space. We've got 3 seconds to the car in front. We've got 4.7 seconds to the car behind. And I'm very much in a state at the moment where I'm just trying to settle down. I'm trying to settle my nerves. I'm trying to get back into that rhythm. I'm trying not to think about the mistake and why it happened. That I can look at in the replay afterwards. For now, I've just got to get myself calmed down, get the car running smoothly again, get that rhythm back, and just see if there's any chance to get on the back of, I don't know whether that's Bem or Beme, we're just going to call it Bem, but the German in front, just to see if there's any way that we can close that gap down just a little bit. You can see just in the background that the 2 cars behind are having a bit of a battle at the moment as well, but I was trying not to look too much in the rear view mirror and to concentrate on pushing forwards and not driving backwards. I do have a habit when I'm in this view with the mirror that I tend to be driving backwards, where I'm looking in the rear view mirror and thinking, is the car behind catching me? Am I going quick enough? Am I covering them off? And that's all important to know. You don't need to be looking in the mirror all the time. You want to be looking at the mirror as you go into a corner and out of a corner, just to see how things are going on behind you. And then as you are preparing for the next corner, you want to be concentrating on that rather than the cars behind. And one of my failings, and something I'm trying to work on at the moment, is to not look in the mirror quite so much. My preferred view is the bumper cam rather than this dash cam, but of course you don't have that large rear view mirror at the top of the screen, and I do tend to find that if a car comes in really hot really quickly, it just jumps onto the radar at the very last minute, and I was causing accidents by not being fully aware of what was going on behind and around me. So that's why I've now moved back to this view. I've gone a little bit deep into that corner. I'm trying to stay off the Astro before I can get it straightened up to try and limit the amount of time that I was off the track, but that is enabling the car behind, Tata, Janine, I'm going to call it Tata, in 10th, really closing up now. You can see that that gap has come down. I think it was 4 seconds down to 2.5 seconds and still catching. Obviously dirty tyres from running off. I'm missing all of the apexes here at the moment as well, just as I try and get the car settled down. So again, whilst I'm trying to push, the nerves are kicking in, and with the nerves kicking in, 1 or 2 little errors are sneaking in at this point. Starting to get annoyed with myself as well for making these silly little errors. I've thrown away a really nice points paying position, and we're now down in 9th, and we're Tata behind around about 1.5, now down to 1.2 seconds. Clearly the car behind can feel that 9th place is theirs. I'm also feeling that 9th place could well be theirs, but I want to keep it. So I'm just pushing on, and unfortunately, when I tend to start pushing on, I find that I tend to brake a little bit too late into corners. And you're going to see over the closing part of this race that that is exactly what I do. I start to forget to brake early, make the apex, accelerate out of corners quickly, and therefore carry the speed down the straights. Instead, I'm braking a little bit later into corners. That's unsettling the car. I've gone deep into that one. I've had to gather it up for the second part of the chicane. And again, that has now put the McLaren right behind me, purely because I decided to try braking a little bit later, carry a little bit more speed through the corner, and in actual fact you end up carrying less speed through the corner. Going into this one, he comes up right on my back bumper. I've taken my normal line through here. He takes a dive up the inside. Was that a push to pass? Was the door open? You know, it's racing. The door was open. He went for it. He made it stick. He didn't go off the track or anything like that. This is it from his point of view. So he tucks in behind here. Up the inside, he's got alongside as we go through there. The Vortex of Doom does close. We do have a bit of a bang of doors. I then let him through, and really I think I should have been a lot more defensive into that first corner complex, but it is a corner that I am not very good at defending on, and that gives him 9th place, and we are demoted back to 10th. That said, even though, as I said, nerves are really getting to me at this point, I mean really getting to me as we get in towards the closing part of the race, I did still try and push it and try and close up on the McLaren. I was hoping that we might be able to get an intimidation pass, that we might be able to intimidate him into or her into a mistake. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen, but we do really continue to push very hard. So I wasn't overly dissatisfied with the race overall. I was fairly pleased with the closing stages. Consider I've had a few little incidents. I haven't let them get to me. I've tried to keep as cool as I can and not to let any of these little pushes to get under my skin, both where I'd push somebody and also a couple of cars that went up the inside of me. And here I'm just really focusing on trying to keep up with this McLaren and see if there's any opportunity either for a pass or more for an intimidation pass. Intimidation pass is where you just intimidate the car in front and hope that they make a little bit of a mistake. But as you see, is 0.6 seconds ahead as we come across the line to start the final lap. We'll stay on board for the rest of the race. Just see my my lap that I close out. Didn't really use all of the track there. I could have gone a little bit further over to the left and carried a little bit more speed through. But we've got the McLaren pretty much pinned at 0.75, 0.79 at the moment. But it never really sort of changed. It went out to 0.8, 0.9. I was never actually really able to close up enough to really intimidate the car in front. We got it down to 0.5 as we finished off with the S's. But then again now as we come out onto this fast section and this quick right-hander, as we come into the slower right-hander and underneath the bridge, round about 0.9 of a second now. So he's found a little bit of speed over me, and then we break into the 1 second behind, and I'm minded that we're 5 seconds to the car behind. So do we just settle down now and settle for 10th place? Well, now I continue to push, but unfortunately as I'm trying to push, I'm braking later into the corners, which is actually compromising my corners. You can see there I'm braking late on that grey part, having to get it slowed down more. As we go through here, I just managed to get it back under the second, but the McLaren gets a far better exit than me. So I closed up during the middle of the corner, but again, compromised on the speed exiting the corner. And as Kushti, who coaches me, has said to me many times, you need to carry the speed out of the corner, because that's where you're going to win races, by carrying the speed down the straights, not by outbraking somebody into a corner. And as you can see now, Tata in front is a good 1.5 seconds down the road, but we do manage to keep the car behind, and we do manage to come across the line to take 10th place, which not great considering where we started. We lost a good few places, but we did have a spin. We had a few bumps and scrapes. We learnt a few lessons about push to pass and keeping the door closed, and that was my first ever Nations Cup race in the game. So quite a lot to learn. We didn't necessarily fly the flag for the UK. Ali Loves to Drink was the person flying the flag for us, came in at second place. But I'll take that. At least we did manage to finish. We weren't last. And now hopefully, now that I know what to expect in the future, we'll be able to build on that and see if we can do better. The DR's taken a bit of a hit, but no surprise there. But onwards and upwards, and currently we've got 72 points on the board. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new around here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you're a current subscriber, thank you ever so much for continuing to support my channel. It's very much appreciated. I will see you on another video coming very soon. I hope you enjoyed this one. Bye-bye for now.